Well, welcome to your last lesson in Workplace and Apprenticeship 30. And the last lesson is an important one, and it's one that you've probably dealt with or seen other people deal with already, and that is when you go to buy a vehicle, what's the best choice? And what we're going to look at here is if you're going to look at buying or leasing a vehicle, particularly for your business, what are some things you're going to want to consider? And there are different terms that you're going to see in the questions and in this lesson. And hopefully they'll become familiar to you. The lease term, that means the length that you're going to lease a vehicle for. The rate is the amount you're going to pay. The security deposit is an amount that you give so that if there's damage to the vehicle, when you return it after the lease is completed, that they have money to pay for any damage. A kilometer allowance is the amount of kilometers you're allowed to drive on the vehicle before returning it off the lease, and realizing that if you go over that, you end up paying additional charges. So often, whenever you buy a vehicle, you are going to have a delivery charge and environmental fees and taxes and different things depending on the dealership or the situation. So don't be surprised when there's those charges. And also, at the end of your lease, you may have the option to buy the vehicle, and that will depend on how much the value of the vehicle has depreciated, which is called the residual value. How much is it worth now? So an example here is a business in Nipawin, Manitoba, and he's buying a truck. It's a used truck, and he's going to pay cash for it, and the price is $23,850. In Manitoba, the GST is, well, all over the country, the GST is 5%. Their provincial sales tax is 7% for a total of 12. So when I multiply 23,850, I'm going to multiply it by 1.12. The 1.2 being 5 and 7 is 12%. 1 is for the original price, so you would times that out, and you can see the price changes quite a bit with 12% sales tax. So don't be surprised about that when you go to buy a vehicle. Another situation is buying a, it looks like an ATV, a quad, and they're going to pay $2,000 down. So you see here right away, you take the cost and you subtract 2,000, and you get that value. Now I've already made a mistake, and I'm just noticing it now. I forgot to take into account the 5% GST. So in all my calculations here, they'll be a little off because I didn't add that 5% in, because everything should be a little bit higher. But nevertheless, the process is the same. If you pay $198.36 for 3 years every month, that will produce a cost of $7,140.96 over those 3 years. Now, to figure out the interest that is, the actual percent value, you take the amount you actually pay, subtract the amount that was left to pay after you made your down payment of $2,000, and that's just over $800, and then you divide $800.96 by the amount you owed, which is $6,340. When we do that and change it to a decimal, you can see that we get 0.126, so that's 12.6% is the interest rate that you would have paid in that situation. Another example is a lease situation where the payments are $388.94, and this time it's over 4 years. 4 years is 48 months, and when you figure out that cost, it's over $18,000. Now, if you talk about the total cost, you have that cost of the lease plus your delivery charge, plus if you want to buy it at the end of the lease, it's worth still $12,195. If you want to buy that car at the end, that's how much you're going to pay. Or assuming you've stayed within the kilometer allowance, assuming you haven't done damage at the end of those 4 years, you can give the car back and you won't have to pay the residual amount, which is that, but you have to give the car back. You don't have it anymore. You get nothing for it. If you were to go to the bank and get a loan, you might get a different interest rate and have to make larger payments, in this case over $600 a month over those 4 years. But you'll see that when you times that out and you get the value, it's 30,000. So compare 31,000 to 30,000, which would be the better option. You have to decide that, and the finances of your situation will dictate that. So next time you go to buy a vehicle, hopefully you'll be able to look at an ad and maybe look at it with a little bit more of a critical eye and realize, oh yeah, there's Lots to go on here. 199 a month. Oh, 5,000 off MSRP. What does that stand for? Um, Factory rebates. All kinds of things when you go to buy a vehicle, and when you go to finance it. All the details, and you can even see down here, 72 months at 3.99% approved financing, and you got to pick the best deal. Obviously, if you have the cash, the best deal is to buy the vehicle now, because then you don't have to pay any interest, any extra money. So you're onto your last assignment. Build your skills, practice your skills, which is the review. Make sure your definitions are done. Get your checks done. Get your math on the job, your roots of math. Get your unit test done, and you're done this course. And then you can get that final exam. And that's it. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you again.